You're good. Oh. You're lying.
Holy mackerel. When the camera's so whacked out. It really is.
Well, because
It's smoky in here, like you and I were hitting the bomb or something.
No.
So maybe tilt the camera down a little bit to get so much less of the glare. Oh my God.
Figgy sawdust.
Jiminy crackers. Oh my goodness. It's like, there you go. Now, what in the world? So we're on a boat right there.
Is that good?
Yeah, you can slide my way just a tiny bit. Why does it look so cloudy? Did you wipe the camera lens off? Good Lord.
Yes, I had to wipe the camera lens off.
Looks like we're tilted like hell.
Oh my gosh.
Lord, what camera work we've got going on.
Well, I'm the
I
producer,
apologize,
not the
people.
cameraman.
Well, while we're fixing the camera, let me do some stuff here. Drone soccer tryouts at the Angela Theater. Come and explore drone soccer tryouts. Free trial lessons March 20th, 29th, and 30th. 2 p.m. to 7 o'clock. Reservations are required. Spaces are limited right now. There's only a few spots left. It has been filling up pretty quick. So if you want to get in here and try your drone soccer tryouts for free this weekend, reserve your spot now because spots are filling quick. We also have the Easter egg from Channel 1 Messed Up News. The Easter egg hunt is April 12th at 2025 at 12 p.m. Go out and then support the folks over at Channel 1 Messed Up News. It's going to be a fun Easter egg hunt. It's going to be just more than in a field. From what I understand, it's going to be a whole shebang, a whole kicked up different level of things for this. So support our friends over there and go say hi to them. We have our guest today, Mr. Michael Radoka is here, running for our borough council. And of course, the big thing that everybody wants to know is what happened with the big fire down there on Water Street.
Well, the camper burnt an ambulance, and Fire Chief Stephen Plushtek had the state police fire marshal there. I didn't hear anything back from Stephen, but I'm sure I will by the end of the week.
Yeah, right. You're going to have to wait till them do their investigation.
Yeah, nobody was hurt. Nobody was injured.
Right.
I thanked all the fire company and for wasting their Sunday on that. But
oh, well, it gives us all a little bit of excitement, you know.
Exactly.
Everybody likes excitement in Coaldale, that's for sure. Borough Council. You've done a lot on Borough Council, like, for many years in different areas.
yeah, I was on the Nesconi Borough Council. I was the head of the streets. I was mentored by a person down there. His name was Frank Jacobs, an older fella, and he was in there a long time. And he asked me, and somebody left the position, and they put me in, and then I was voted in for 2 terms. I enjoyed it, working with some good people.
Right.
It was an education.
Mm-hmm. I guess it is an education. Have you done it before that at all? No. So getting into it, you're learning kind of trial by fire.
Yep.
You're kind of relying on other people to give you some help.
Yeah,
some
and if you watched your filming of the first 2 council meetings, I spent a lot of time turning my head, just listening to what's going on. The first 2 meetings were pretty rough. The new year, it was tough. It was hard to get used to, and then the last 3 meetings were pretty calm. It was enjoyable. We accomplished some stuff. We had some stuff to get through yet.
Right. When was it that you got put in? How long?
October. My first meeting was November.
October first meeting. So what is that? In 6 months now?
2 meetings in the last year, and then 3 this year. 5 meetings.
5 meetings. So you're barely.
I'm fresh, but
you're super fresh.
Yeah.
But you also have experience because you've done this before. So
right.
you kind of experience. I guess it's hard to say you have experience managing different personalities.
Yes.
Right. And obviously we have some personalities. Certainly have some personalities here.
Yes. And there's some people on the ballot that, if they're going to get in, I'm looking forward to working with. There's some intelligent people there with some good ideas, but we got to get through all the other stuff before the new ideas.
Mm-hmm. We do. What do you think about the creating of committees, like the committee to help beautify things, like, doing the mural down there?
Oh, absolutely. That, like I said, the only thing we needed there was a waiver.
Right.
There's some other things, years ago, there was a grant, and of course grants, they're not usually for what you really need.
Right.
But if you don't take them, you don't get them.
Yeah, right.
They go away. You know, there was one for a volleyball court up there, and after the people stopped using it for volleyball, the court needs some cleaning up and stuff like that. It needs to be done, maybe a new net.
Right.
You know, you had Mrs. Jones or whatever it is down there in the highway. That wasn't something we needed, but it's a little beautification. And Mr. Havishak painted a mural on there on the side, if you ever seen it, just like the one at the Burger Garage.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot of stuff, you know, years ago, trees and sidewalks went in here. Some of them died off. You know, and somebody has to take care of this stuff too.
Yeah.
We need a little more pride in the area on our homes.
We do, and that's what I think. Getting some committees together that actually kind of helps you guys not have so much on your plate. Like,
Absolutely.
let us, some in the community, put some committees together and help, and come in with you guys on a monthly basis. Say, hey, we're working on this month. We have this plan for the following month. Let's do that. You know, what can we do to make sure this happens?
Yes.
Let's put a couple of committees together to help do that. I
Yeah,
think we
and
should
you
do
know-
a committee for the complex. The complex needs a lot of help. And
Exactly.
you guys are overwhelmed with a lot of your own stuff. If we could get a committee of people who are dedicated to marketing and taking care of and getting that complex.
Yeah,
under control,
it does
helps
need to be
you guys.
marketed because it's not holding its own at this point.
No, we're underwater. We
Yeah.
need so much, and we really need to
Yep.
utilize that space. And we got to figure out a way to do it. And that's what I'm hoping with our community meetings are going to be able to do is bring that together so we can start utilizing the people in the community that want to help,
You know,
make these committees.
And one
start
of the biggest things
banging
is
this out.
we got to get through these audits so we can start applying for grants.
Yeah.
We have to, you know, they're out there somewhere. Somebody got to write them,
Right.
but then we need a percentage sometimes to back them.
Yeah.
You know, and we have to have the money. But one of the biggest things that's coming up in Coldville, and I know it's not really going to help the community, but the 200th is coming up.
Right.
You know, a lot of pride in it. The 175th parade was wonderful. The 1976 parade here was wonderful. And if anybody watching remembers the old Halloween parades, the pumpkin parades in Lansing were spectacular. The amount of bands that were in them and the people.
Right.
Uh,
Do you think we can get back to doing that kind of stuff?
I certainly hope so.
Community. Like, I think we should do that.
they're
We
fun
definitely
and
need to
shaking
do that.
hands and seeing people that come back to the area.
But give people that have moved out a reason to come back and celebrate.
Yep.
I think that's another committee that we need to create is the 200th anniversary committee. Something that we
Absolutely.
need to start planning it now.
Yes.
Like, we already should be planning that. That should be stuff that's getting the ball.
I
in
never
motion.
realized it. Like, to get bands, you have to offer some prizes for the bands to get them here.
Mhm.
And a lot of things like that, and see and make sure timing is the big issue.
Right.
That you're not falling into a timing thing with something else, some kind of event, that it gets big.
Right.
I'm telling you, 175th, it was a small parade, but it was wonderful. Walking up Phillip Street, no cars there, just looking at the houses. It was great.
Have the whole Phillips Street just bomb decked
Yep.
out in a giant party, a
Yep.
weekend party. All weekend, the town
Yep.
just parties. That's what it needs to be. Huge parades, parties,
Yep.
cooking, food, gathering together.
Yep.
You know, helping people out, meeting your neighbors. That's
Yep.
that's what it needs to be. Big time. Definitely needs to be that. Let's see here.
Want the questions now? Or
Yeah,
at
let's
the
do
end?
this. Let's see if there's any questions
well,
right now.
One question was, what is the plan for the minor street repairs? Then there was a follow up with the sewer line, I guess, and I just asked if that was on Minor Street.
I'm not aware of any minor street sewer repair,
Okay.
to be honest with you, but if somebody tells me what it is, I will follow up.
There you go. So,
We are right now, I gave the list to Brian, and we're going through what's going to be done for liquid fuels for paving.
Mhm.
A person by the name of Jonathan Davis. It'll be my first go round with him
Right.
to see what needs to be done. And I think with myself on there, we may get a little more bang for our buck.
Right.
Just not doing something dumb.
Mhm. You're the head of streets committee.
Yeah.
So your business, that's a family business. You've had this for years.
Yes.
Your father started
My
it?
father,
When did he start that?
54, he was a miner. When the mines closed down, he had a little gas station, had coal truck. That turned into oil, and then he had a machine. He got a little farm, and the excavating picked up and got big. And the oil business, my father died in 96, and and actually his dream was that building down on the highway in a mini mart.
Really?
Believe me, me and my brother really, it's just more employees, and we did sell it.
Mm-hmm.
We tried as best we could to manage it for so long. I think
Right.
it was over 10 years, 20 years. I don't remember anymore.
Right.
But we still leased the building off to people that own it.
Right.
And if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't get gas in Colga. You wouldn't get a loaf
Yep.
of bread.
Yep. All those little snacks. All those when I'm hungry for gummies, that's where I go.
Yeah. You know,
like
it's
sugar pack.
the people that bought it, you know, it was rough for a start, but they fit in pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's something here, you know, there's not much left.
Yeah, that's the problem. We need to bring more. We need to be more embracive to business coming in. We need to open our arms and say, "Please come
you know,
here."
Back in the 60s and the 70s, there were 6 grocery stores in town. You know, and they're gone.
I remember coming in here and visiting Jake when I was a little kid with my dad. And we would walk around. There was an ice cream store in town. There was a candy shop in town. There was always stuff that we were always spending our money on in town. I remember going to the grocery store. I remember going to church here all the time. But now it's like, it's all.
The churches are all gone. There was 3 undertakers here. There was
it's amazing that you could have so much stuff packed into this town. It really blows my mind. And I think we should, and we can get back to that. Right.
Yeah.
And, one thing, obviously, the police. What's going on with the police? People want to know.
We do have a special meeting the Monday before the council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I didn't dip into the budget until this last 2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
And I got in there just to see if there's enough money to do what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to discuss it the Monday before the meeting. We should have a plan for the meeting and know which direction we're headed.
Whether it's going to be, we're going to start to rebuild, or we're going to go to Tamaka for a little bit.
Yep.
Is there one that you favor over the other?
Yeah, I do. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a state policeman today that coming out of the mini mart, and I thanked him for doing the coverage, you know, for us and stuff. And I said, you know, what direction we possibly might be at it. And he said, there's no officers coming to them either. That's the problem, the officer base.
There's nobody coming in to work as police.
Yeah.
And after what happened the past few years, who could blame anybody for wanting to be a police officer?
Absolutely not.
Right.
And it got so tough to be a police officer in Colga. They're struggling in Lansford.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a hard.
You know, we've been fortunate that not much is going on, and the state police is covering it at this point. But we have to do something. It has to be ironed out very shortly.
Yeah, right. It needs to be done quick. So, and people really are concerned above anything that I hear chat wise. People really want a police force in our town.
Well, and you know, you see me. I travel the streets quite a bit just to see what's going on because you need to be ahead of this. And,
yeah, absolutely.
You know,
and keep an eye on what's.
I talked with you earlier. The blight in this town has really turned around. There is a lot, a lot. And you were at the blight meeting when we were up there with Mr. Argel and stuff. And Jamie Barton was there, and I made his eyes open up because one of the biggest problems is every town used to have a landfill.
Yes.
On a Saturday, you could go to landfill, clean your property. It didn't cost you nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the nearest landfill in Schuylkill County is Higgins, and then there isn't one in Carbon County.
Where's Higgins? How far is that from where we are here?
Higgins, I guess it's about 35 miles.
Wow. So
it's past the Minersville exit on 81.
40 minutes from here?
Yeah, 40 minutes you could probably make it.
40-minute ride from here.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a 2-hour trip to take your.
Yeah, until you dump and stuff.
It's a 3-hour part of your day.
Yeah, and believe me, it happened in Escahone with the garbage contract. They offered a contract and it was like 1, 3, 5 years, and we decided to take a larger contract, and there was a 3-3 vote, and the mayor had to split it over to recycling.
Mm-hmm.
And our secretary treasurer there, you know, the biggest thing the mayor asked, can we afford the recycling?
Right.
And we thought we could, and it ended up we had a shortage on just the regular garbage contract, and we had to back out of the recycling after a year or so.
Yeah.
But everybody took large contracts. Now everything doubled, and there's no competition in it. And thank God we have a local, hauler that is servicing us at a reasonable rate. But people think it's high, but that's the cost of business now.
Yeah, everything's expensive. Fuel's expensive.
Oh, yeah,
so
everything
the
went
cost
up.
of our trash is going to go because that's one of their biggest expenses, the fuel.
Biggest expense.
Right? That's what their cost is the most.
And I mentioned it at that blight meeting. They years ago, they spent $5 million up Edgemont to backfill a stripping pit. Why didn't somebody step in and spend $5 million on a liner and put a dump in?
Yeah.
Or drink a bottle of water.
Yeah, right. Who's drinking? And if you're drinking water out of the tap, you're usually filtering it after that anyway.
You know, because that was one of the biggest things. And, you know, if you look at areas where the landfills are, there's a lot of support from the landfills, financing fire trucks, ambulances, borough equipment, paying for police departments. It happens, paving streets when you have it there.
Right. So I guess the other thing is your smell. That's the only thing people would. Right.
Well, it is.
Your smell is going to be your problem, right?
And
complain about the
I've been near landfills that smell, and I've been at landfills that don't.
Yeah.
My father, we ran 2 landfills here local when they were here. You know, it's something you have to do.
Right. Is there any mitigation for smell control? You dump like.
I think they do wells, or they burn stuff, or burn the methane off, or something. I don't not.
Yeah, it's been so many years, I guess, since you've done it, so it's kind of hard to figure out, you know, what they do now. So you have a business. Do you think it's proper for council members to have their own company working for the borough?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Since I'm on there, we didn't do any work for the borough.
Right, and I think that,
and I'm not against. I don't have a personal agenda here on doing more work.
right.
If they need me, I will do it. I suggest that, you know, things that they could do by themselves. But, you know, if they're going to get strapped, just like the snow plowing and stuff, I can't do the snow plowing, but after the plowing, I can remove snow.
Right.
And I made that a point when I had it in my bid for that.
Right.
But if they got in a pinch somehow, some way, I would make it happen.
Right. I think your expertise in excavating, and obviously you manage people as a business owner, so you have how many employees?
Exactly.
Hundreds of employees?
No, not hundreds.
Nah.
A few.
You got so you have employees, you manage employees, you manage people, but you have a great knowledge in borough operations, in equipment, in streets, in plumbing, in how the sewers work, and digging that stuff up. There's a knowledge in there that I don't think people appreciate or understand.
And it
that
comes
you can
to
bring to the table, even if negotiating and helping us find other people.
Right.
You can be the guy who's like, well, I know that this shouldn't cost this much.
right. There was a few things that we've done through the years that were more cost effective than what somebody else thought to be done.
Right.
And the other thing is, I get along with the 2 guys that are on our streets. I personally, since there's nobody to call them out, I go out and plow snow, so I'm calling them out. So that's a position, you know, and they'll call me when they're done, and I'll say, well, I'll call you in the morning if it's going to be worse, you know.
Yeah, right.
And they've been pretty good, and you got to know how to treat them.
Right, you have to know how to treat people.
Yeah.
That they work. Like they say, I hate to say they work for you, but it essentially, kind of, yes.
Right.
You're the go-to. You're the boss. You're the manager. The people. You're the.
I have enough employees to scream at, so I'm never going to scream at them guys.
Yeah, right. And I guess they've been here for several years. They kind of know. Seasonally, there's like there should be a routine as to, you know, we're coming out of fall, you know, we're spring now, we're going to clean up the park.
If you drive through the other towns during a snowstorm and stuff, they do a pretty good job for 2 guys.
Yeah.
We didn't have to use any part-timers. We didn't have a really bad winter, but I didn't hear any complaints.
Right. But people say that those guys don't do this, or they don't do that, or they see them lounging. It is. You work outdoors. You've done it for years. You know it's a brutal way to make a living. And it gets hard. And if you're standing around for 5 minutes, well, yeah, they're not young cats either.
Nope.
And
you lose doing snow work. You lose a lot of sleep.
You do. You lose a lot of sleep.
A lot of sleep.
And then working in the summer, that sun beats you up. It beats you up.
Yeah.
And I'm almost 50, and I know
we do have
all day. It beats you.
We do have a lot of grass to do, and it's going to be sad that we don't have Butch. Butch did a lot of it by himself and did a wonderful job, and freed the other guys up to do other things, especially with the shared services. You know, now we have Lancer doesn't have a garage, so we reached out to them if they needed park trucks or they had to work on something. We'll put our stuff outside; they can put it inside.
Yeah,
you know, they'd help us a lot when Brian was by himself or Chris was by himself.
Right.
You know, they're there for us.
Right. So that helps you. You help manage. That's a great asset to have. Managing the people. You have experience managing people, and you can give us a good price, but you can also help out
Well, and the next thing is you look for a piece of equipment that'll help the other borough that they don't have, because not every borough could go out and buy everything they need. Them days are over.
Are we over budget this winter or under budget for snow plowing?
Oh, I'm going to say we didn't hit the end of it. Usually April 15th is when I'll negotiate whatever we had left or whatever.
Right.
I would say we're under.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't think there was a lot of overtime.
Right. It snowed a few times, but it wasn't
Yeah.
It wasn't always.
Well, we didn't. There was no, like I said, no outsourcing for anything, so
Right.
it should be under budget.
And that does cost us more, obviously, right, to outsource. That's where the buku money comes
Right.
in, is where we're.
I don't think there was a lot of breakage. A couple batteries. That's about it for the trucks.
Right, because then there's all of that kind of stuff too that comes into play. It's like the maintenance for trucks, your maintenance for your backhoe.
Yep.
The plow goes wrong. There's always something wrong with the truck. There's
Something.
always something wrong. Like a plow, you come in one day, you put it down, you come in the next morning, why is this leaking?
Yeah.
It was fine when I left. It's perpetual.
We had one truck that they spent a ton of money on, emissions and stuff, and the last couple of times, Brian and Chris, they had their own personal computer, they hooked it in, and I think they got through what was going on.
Right.
That
And that's
saves you
part
some
of
money.
the job too of the people that work there that know, okay, I can kind of fix this.
Yeah.
We don't have to send it off. Let me do it.
Yeah.
Cool. Questions?
I have a question and a concern. Thoughts on people holding multiple positions in the borough?
I don't know what they mean by that.
I don't know what that means.
Multiple positions, like I don't know what that means.
I will go.
Yeah, let's get maybe a little bit more. What else you got? Any other ones?
One concern is, and I guess this will be discussed more when we get police, speed enforcement on Greenwood Street.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
Yes, when you come off the highway, they're not slowed down by the time they hit the first house.
Okay, I'm gonna be horrible. Where is Greenwood Street?
Well, you know what old ice cream stand is?
Ice cream stand.
You know what a beer stand is?
Oh, on 209. On
Yeah.
209. Okay.
It's the lower road.
Oh.
What used to be the highway. That was the highway.
Mm-hmm.
47.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
It's
47 is
25
when
there?
it should be.
But people like veer off and
Yeah.
right into
And they're going 45, 50.
Coming
they're
down,
coming
not
right
on
off the
209.
highway,
Okay.
zipping right in.
Yeah, 47 is when they straightened the road out there. That was the highway.
Wow.
What else you got?
That was it so far.
Where are the monuments of the Coaldale High School past coaches and players? I don't think you have any clue where that one.
No.
Where that one.
No, wait, what was that question?
Well, I thought that was
Where
a-
are the monuments of the Coaldale High School past coaches and players?
No, I think that
Are they with the trophies?
I would assume they're in Lansford, maybe.
Although they were.
I took that as when they were talking about the sewer lines, and I asked, "Is that on Minor Street?" And then somebody said, "Where are the monuments of?" Yeah,
I thought
so
I was looking
I'm
for them.
I'm sorry if that was an actual question. I'm sorry, Anthony. Please re-ask. I thought that was just a reply to where on Minor Street.
Brad, if you're there, ask me. What do you mean? How about people holding multiple positions in the borough? Give me a little more detail on that one. We have a question here. What about police officers collecting workers' compensation and a salary from the water authority? I have no idea who they're talking about. I don't know what that is.
I do, but I don't think
It is what it is. Right?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Um,
There's not much we can do. What are we going to do about this?
and it's over and it's done with. It probably wasn't right, but
It's over and done with it
Yeah.
at this point. So there's nothing. Yeah, right. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's the past. Right. There's a lot of stuff that's in the past at this point now. It's like, okay, it's over.
you
and done.
can't do nothing
There's
about it.
nothing we can do about it. And I think the best thing to do is just I hate to say let it go, but you gotta let it go. Like just
Well, it has something to do with the borough, but it don't have something to do with the borough. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They're appointed through the borough
Mm-hmm.
by letters of recommendation and stuff. But
Who is R&R? Who is that?
right now, Danny Weister
Yeah, right. He's on.
and it is Mary Ann Weister.
Husband and wife.
I think they're divorced.
Okay. But they both represent Coaldale on the water board? Is that
Yes.
what it is?
Yeah, there's 2 from Coaldale and I think 3 from Lansford, I think it
Oh,
is.
this is like a paid position?
I think it has like a stipend or whatever. you
Right,
call
it's
it.
not like some monumental thing that you can live off of. It's barely a part-time job paycheck, right? It's just with pennies.
Yeah, I think maybe the president of the board of supervisors is probably a pretty lucrative position.
Right, but you're overseeing several probably
Right.
boroughs.
Yeah,
and
there's
all of that
4 gentlemen there that work.
Right. Okay.
Okay,
And
so,
believe me, that's another thing. When they work, they might be just reading meters, but when they work, they work. They were just out the other night, I think till about 7 o'clock. They came down for some material and
Right.
had a fire hydrant that was out of service that sprung a leak.
Glorious.
so clarification. So like somebody that's on the water company, can they also be the tax collector? Somebody that's the town supervisor, could they be the clerk of works? Would they all be separate positions?
I would say that has nothing to do with, because that's a voted in position, the tax collector.
Tax collector's a voted in position.
Yeah, and it's just a regular secretary's position at the water company.
So,
And I think it's only part-time at this point with the water, I'm not sure. But that other one, clerk of the works, I don't know what that would be. I only ever knew that on contracts, like at schools when they're building, there's a clerk of the works.
so how about if you go to say conflict of interest in someone's on borough council, but they also have somebody who's a relationship on the zoning board? That type of deal.
On the zoning board.
Right.
I don't see any reason why that would make any difference, a relation on the zoning board versus borough council.
Do you think that's not a conflict of interest between somebody who wants something on the borough council and they want something?
I think
going
they should
through
recluse
zoning?
themselves
Right.
from the zoning board.
How about we just prevent that completely and not have that?
Well, if that's
Right?
Yeah.
That's something we should.
If
That's
it's-
something that would. I think a lot of people, and again, this is the past, where you have a chief of police and a borough council married couple on, and it may be the best intentions, but other people see it as a conflict of interest.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Those are the types of things that I think that I'm sure.
Well, it's just like
people don't want this anymore. They don't want these conflicts of interest, like intermarrying people
Well, they're not-
on one position. in the
I
borough.
think we would have to put some kind of legal term into that.
Right, we have to. How do we
Right.
do that? Here's something I'm interested in: term limits.
What's that?
Term limits.
Term
For
limits.
borough council. Look into term
I'm
limits.
not going to argue with you
Right.
either way, but
you can do 8 years as a borough council person.
the only thing is,
8 years as a mayor.
if something's working, I won't want to see it go away either.
There's that. But if
And
you're
like
doing
it-
it right at your 6, 7, you go in for your second term, you know this is your last term. I would be, in my mindset is, I want to set this up for the next person who's going to come here is in a great position to take over and run it too. Right?
That goes 2 ways as far as I'm concerned, term limits. Like I said, I had a mentor in Escahone, and when he passed away, things really changed. I resigned at the time because I moved out of town, and he passed away. And it's a little tough for them. It's going to take a little while for them to get back on their feet completely. I think if somebody's doing a good job, I don't see any reason. You know, if it's a bad thing, you just don't vote them in.
Sounds simple enough.
Yeah,
That-
simple
that-
enough.
right, but it seems like that's not.
Well, you got to vote. You
we
got
gotta
to
get
vote
people
for,
out. We gotta get people
you
out
got to
to
vote for
more
a candidate that's going to be able to do something. And sometimes you'll choose the wrong one, and sometimes you'll get a good one. You know, it's tough. It's
Right.
going to be tough.
And there's always a love relationship if somebody gets in there and they're like, oh, I'm so happy this person got in, and 2 years later they want to.
And I say it all the
You're not
time.
doing what you want. They want you to do.
You have some townships that have 3 people. We have 7. Sometimes it's hard to get 7 good people.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's tough.
I think there's people don't want to run because there's a lot of PTSD from I don't want to be.
You have to-
I want to be left alone. I don't want any retribution from this. I just want to live my life.
And you can't have no personal agendas.
That's the biggest problem. That's a big thing
Absolutely.
right there. That is.
I've been on
You
the
know,
other-
I'm an advocate of no personal agendas.
I've watched it in this town for years, personal agendas. If you don't vote for something I want, I'm not voting for something that's good for the town.
Yeah, that's
Bad, bad, bad.
That's terrible and
Terrible.
has to stop. That definitely has to be something that stops.
So-
Go ahead.
The St. Luke's Hospital, yes, it is a nonprofit, but the land is owned privately. Do they contribute to the taxes?
They do not contribute to the taxes, from what I understand. I asked this question. They donate, I think, $17,000 a year in lieu of the tax. I don't know how this happened.
Pretty lame. I have to say that's
But-
pretty lame.
When they say that it's owned privately, that's news to me.
And I mean, yeah, these are, like I said, these are questions that we'll never,
Yeah.
we'll never have the answer to, but kind of like.
No, and believe me, I think it needs to be approached a little different way
It
and
needs to be diplomatic.
see what they give elsewhere.
Mhm.
I hear stories that they give different places where their buildings are monumental type things.
Mhm.
Somebody needs to go there as a debutante for the town and
Mhm.
see what
Hey, let's start.
we don't have. All we have here is St. Luke's and the mines.
Yep.
You can't put your hands out anywhere else.
No, we have to bring business in. We have to start shining a
And you
very
bring business
positive,
in,
loving
and
light on this
if
town.
business is supported by the town, the business could support the town.
That's right, and that way we're not have to worry about fees and permits to try and support and make a couple nickels here and there to scrape by. We can make a lot of money by bringing
And
good.
believe me, to come in and start a business and have a mortgage, and if you don't have support, it's not going to make it.
Yeah, you need everybody on that council needs to be. How can we do this? What can we do to make it easy? How can we help you?
It's tough, and it's a lot of the permits and the inspections, and it gets tough.
Yeah,
It gets
but I
tough.
guess if you're opening a business, you're going to be aware and expecting these.
Yeah, and if you're tied up and you're paying on a construction mortgage
Mm-hmm.
and not making any money,
Right.
it's a tough deal.
Yeah. Yeah. We need some people with some vision, the money, and the time and effort to put into it.
Absolutely.
So that'll be good. Any other questions?
Piggybacking off of St. Luke's, and again, you may not know this answer, but do we know how much the mines pay for taxes?
No,
Yeah.
no, it's a good question.
Yeah.
And that is privately, it's not owned by Lehigh Coal.
Okay.
It's investors that own it, and another organization runs it, and that's how it becomes Lehigh Coal.
Is it an out of state organization?
No. They're from down near Philly.
Okay, so they're in Pennsylvania at
Yeah.
least, but it's an outfit down in Philly, like an investment firm, like
Yeah.
one of these. What are they people that invest a bunch of money into something called? What is that called?
Investment firm?
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Yeah.
It's an investment firm, right? They're called an investment firm. They do all that.
I don't think that we've ever in the borough asked the mines for anything we're turned down.
Right.
You know, I talked to the fire company. We were there talking just a little bit on Sunday, and they had a fire up there, and I think they gave them foam or something, and you know, they were pretty good to them.
Right. Yeah. Anything else?
There one more question about the water. Sorry, I'm responding to something else. The water authority salaries, but we don't have any control over that.
Right. We have no control over water salaries.
Not the borough,
Right.
no.
The borough has no
Yeah.
control. Who controls the salaries for the water?
Well, the board, I guess,
The
is
board, right.
it's an authority. It's always been an authority as far
so
as
the
I'm concerned.
authority is the one who's the authority on it. The
Right.
borough council has no authority over the water
They
authority.
just place who's in there, and
Yeah, right. That's out of borough council purview.
Yeah, that's the water authority. That's not us.
Yeah. Employees at the Miners Hospital have a payroll deduction of local tax that goes to the borough, but the hospital itself doesn't pay a property tax to the borough. What did we look up? The St. Luke's makes brings in a year.
Couple $100 million.
That's this hospital.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found their financials.
This hospital brings in a couple hundred
$200 million. But again, that is revenue in, and then you got to look at
What goes out?
what goes out.
What goes out.
So, but again, if I remember,
I think it's a good thing to possibly sit
Yeah.
down with them
Yeah.
and
In the
see.
future, we can sit down with whoever's in charge and say, "Hey, what can we do?"
Yeah, and see if we need something, if they're willing to contribute towards it. I don't see them turning anything down.
Right, it's just sitting down
I think we
in
can
a
work
nice
with
way and and hey, what
You know, you just need somebody to go, and nobody ever went there and asked, you know.
Right.
I know the
It's
fire
simple
company
as
does go there and help them, and I don't know what they give to the fire company, but, you know, there's automatic fire alarms that they respond to all the time, the volunteers here, and they do need more volunteers.
the fire department does.
Yeah, and they do need more revenue. It's just a hard place to come from, that people aren't here anymore.
Right. They're all fleeing and they're not coming. We have to bring, and then this circles back to bringing in business, to bringing in more people, to have more people who want to live here.
Absolutely.
And then that brings in more people who want to volunteer in
we
these things.
need people here that have jobs that could contribute to stuff, you know, when they're looking for donations.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
You know, and years ago, the volunteer fire company had a lot more volunteers, but back then, 2 parents didn't have to work.
That's true.
You know, the baseball games were in town. They weren't out of the county.
Yeah.
You know, the husbands could go there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a tough organization, you know.
This
You know,
generation with their phones is not into doing things outside of the phone, going and being a firefighter and donating your time, and that's a special person
It
to
is.
do that.
It is.
To get there with that is even watching them spray that ambulance close up the way he was.
It's
I was like,
not.
no thanks.
It's not just the time. You know, you get your life is at stake sometimes.
Yeah.
You know,
And you're going to a car accident. You know what you're going to come up on.
Absolutely.
You know, you see some
there's
things.
people getting hit at car accidents. You know, tow truck drivers, firemen. I'm sure.
Right.
Fire police getting yelled at.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you get treated like crap by people.
Absolutely.
So it's not an easy gig. Right? But you have your that brotherhood, that sisterhood, the camaraderie that comes with it
It's
that people
just
don't,
like-
these kids don't realize that today.
Absolutely, and it's just like plowing snow in town. We plowed snow. Every house didn't have a car. Now every house has 3 cars.
Yeah, all these streets are loaded with cars.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no place to put it. Somebody's getting more than others, and that used to be the yelling, you know?
Right.
Why are you putting it on my side?
Yeah. Anything else?
Another idea was giving a fire company a tax break, but that's almost like a first responders tax break.
Well, in Nescahoning, they had that. I don't.
Nice.
Yeah. That's something to look into.
Like
There used to be a list like every month that somebody applied. I guess they have to have so many hours of service, and there was a tax break.
Oh, like a
I'll have to look in to see how that
That's
works.
pretty awesome.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
Good idea.
Look into that more for people.
I mean, yeah, because we get the homestead tax break. So, I mean, and I'm not out there holding the hose against a burning camper.
Yeah, right. That's for somebody else.
Yeah.
I'm not running into a burning building to save anybody. That's
No.
not me. No
Sorry.
way. Like I'll stand outside with a hose, but I'm not running in.
Bacon splattering me hurts me too much.
There's definitely better people for that. Like I wouldn't even want to be a police officer and pull somebody over, even in the daylight,
Yes.
right? Because not only are they going to give you an attitude, and you see all these videos, of
It's
people
hard
are-
anymore, and
Right.
you know these cars have tinted windows. You don't know what you're walking into.
Really? And then everybody's got a video camera. They want to go viral for
Yeah.
being a dick to a cop.
Yeah.
So you got all that constantly, right? Who wants to deal with that?
It's tough.
Yeah,
It's tough.
it's tough.
It's
It
tough
really is
being
tough.
a fireman, it's a police officer, fire police. It's tough being a teacher. Things are different.
Mhm.
Bus drivers, I hear a lot of that.
Right? Who wants to drive a bunch of jerks around on a bus being assholes to you? Because kids aren't behaving the way they did when I was in school.
Oh,
No way I would
You don't have
behave
to
the way
tell
these
me.
kids behave. No way. Not only would the bus driver whoop my ass, when I go home, my parents would whoop my ass for it too.
I always say if there was children and youth when we were growing up, we would have been in foster care.
Yeah, there was no way. But yeah, I would definitely. But it's what makes you a better person. You understand consequences and responsibility.
Absolutely.
You know, there's behave a certain way. There's consequences for it.
Absolutely.
There's people who want to volunteer at the fire company, but they won't give them the chance.
No, that's
I don't know. I don't
sucks,
know
but-
how it works.
the fire department. You have to bring that up with the fire department.
Yeah, right. So if we get Steve or
Mhm.
Tommy in here, that's something
There you
to do
go.
that.
Yep.
Be able to help you out with. Any other questions?
Something about the budget. What's the annual budget?
We don't know that, right? The annual budget.
I thought that was produced. Did you
Yeah,
get it
no,
at a meeting?
For
I think it was
that was done.
I
Oh
think
my
we had it
god! I
done in
sat there for
January.
2 hours.
Yeah.
It is, but I don't believe it's posted.
Right.
I think it's
I thought it had to be posted on the borough building.
It's hanging, but
Okay.
it's not updated. It's
Okay.
not a living document,
Okay.
so it is not updated for everybody to see.
Mhm.
It is just, profit, loss, all that fun stuff, but
Okay.
it is not a living document. It is not updated. It's
Gotcha.
just the original approved budget for the year.
Would you be up for putting the budget up, say, for February so that everybody in town could see every nickel that was spent that month? What we
Absolutely.
spent, right? So that,
Is it-
by the
now,
time March,
I-
February's budget's up. The lawyer sent out 12 letters with how much
Okay.
each letter cost, what we spent on repairs, what we spent on this. Everything.
Yeah, I'm not against that. That should be in the minutes when you get your agenda, really.
Right, we should get it at, okay, all this is what we spent.
I'm
and
not
should-
against that at all.
Right, that's what something that a lot
That's,
of people
you're
want to see.
paying the taxes, you need to know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, a lot of people want to see that where our money is going, so I think that'd be awesome.
I don't see any foolish spending there at this
Mhm.
particular point. Haven't seen anything outrageous.
Right. But you get to see every month what is being spent on what. That's good. Anything else?
It's pretty tough. I'm the only one that has to run here.
Yeah.
So I'm getting questioned both ways.
You're getting grilled.
And that's okay. I like I said, I'm in it for Coldell. I'm
Right.
not.
That's what people want to see. This because everybody now is really interested. We're getting out to meet everybody who wants to run in a different way. There can be no talking behind people's backs.
Absolutely.
All this stuff can be squashed immediately, and everybody gets a
And just
fair
like
shake.
when I first got in there, I addressed myself to you, introduced myself to you, and I said, "If you have any questions, just ask me."
Did you know or hear about any of the bullshit we were doing to them before? Not to them.
No, I was not
Because
paying,
of them?
Did you hear any of it
I
before?
wasn't paying attention, and I'm not going to judge anybody on it.
Right.
We had our own fight here when we were building that property down there for 5 years
Right.
Mhm.
with zoning, and it really wasn't with the town.
Mm,
It was with somebody that just kept appealing,
right. Right.
and until it finally went to federal court and they had to post a bond,
Mm-hmm.
is when it stopped.
Right. Okay.
And my father came right out and said that he would never see the day that the place opened. And he
Right.
died like 2 months before we opened.
Uh,
On the 29th of the month, he was like, there's nothing coming that's not appealed. That last day that he appeals, that would just kill him.
right. Right.
That would kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough, and I understand what you went through there, and especially when you're spending money.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. Yeah. Not just a little bit either. It's a lot.
No, you're not telling me.
It was a lot.
I'm not a fan of lawyers.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely not either.
And you talk about, you went with like St. Luke's, and there's an address down in Nescahoning since the railroad came in.
Right.
All them properties that they took over from the KME plant, there's no taxes paid on that.
Okay.
The railroad pays no taxes. I don't think they pay taxes on the bank building. They own that. I don't know if you knew that.
The railroad owns the bank building.
Yes. Yes.
Huh. Well, it was up for sale for a while, and it's not up for sale anymore.
I
Do they want to sell it, or they're not?
I have no idea.
I guess it just sits there empty. At least put it up for sale.
I have
And
no
hopefully
idea.
somebody can pick it up.
When the other bank closed, and then you couldn't open it for a year as a bank, then Jim Thorpe Neighborhood Bank
Yeah,
was there,
right.
and then they got that building in Lansford.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you weren't here.
No.
They had a trailer on our property when this bank closed.
Oh.
And just to have a bank here because we didn't have anything, and that bank where they're at wasn't open either.
Right.
So they moved forward to help the community and get things,
Mm-hmm.
going.
That's good. Anything else? Are we good?
There was. Oh, don't forget to remind people to town hall.
I will, Rich.
Um,
Town Hall this Saturday, the 29th, 10 o'clock. We will have coffee and donuts and candidates here that you can chit chat with. So please do not forget, come in. We're also going to be organizing about 3 communities. We're going to need people for those. We'll talk more about those. And I also believe that Kim Gavornak from the Borough Council will be coming as well to do some chit chat with you guys and have a presentation of some sort. Am I correct on that? Perhaps? I don't know. I think, but Kim will be there. So there is that.
Yeah.
That's it on those?
Something about railroad is considered PUC. I don't know what that means.
No, what's PUC mean?
Well, that's a good question because
Public utility company.
yeah,
Ooh, okay.
but
There you go.
like I'd have to check into that to see if the water company pays taxes on their building because they're regulated by the PUC.
Yeah.
PP&L is regulated by the PUC.
Oh, and they're right there at the bottom of
Yeah,
the hill.
I had never thought of that. Whoever
Ooh.
put that question out there, excellent. We'll look into that one.
There you go.
Yeah, very good.
That might be something to fight with.
Kim will be
Yes.
at the Saturday meeting. So please come and say hello to Kim. She's got some good stuff to say. Anything else? You caught up?
We're caught up.
There you go. Look up there and tell me what you can tell me about those hot rods.
That pickup truck I bought when I was a senior in high school,
What year is this?
78.
Nice. That's 3 years old.
That 69 Camaro, I rebuilt that from the ground up. 19 years old I was.
Wow.
From the ground up.
Nice.
From the ground up.
They are beautiful. I love both of them. I love that Camaro and I love that pickup
I love
truck.
the truck.
That reminds me of, you ever see a show called The Fall Guy?
Yeah.
Called,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With Colt Seavers?
They're,
That's what that reminds
we go to the car show and a guy has a Fall Guy truck. Just
Really?
like it, the same colors, that two-tone brown.
Oh, yeah.
And with the eagle on the hood and stuff,
Uh-huh.
looks just like it.
Right, I see that Ford is making those again. They started making new Broncos or new trucks.
Oh, yeah.
like this, and
With the
they're doing that paint
Chevrolet's
job.
doing that, like, square body paint job on the new
Yes,
truck.
yes. I thought those were
No,
awesome.
I cut a lot of grass and I work hard.
So you race cars?
I race cars. Well,
Still
not
or
no
not
more.
anymore?
I still have them, but I have a show car now.
How about this guy?
Yeah, that was about one of the last ones. I don't have that one, but I had the next one.
What year is this?
Oh boy. Maybe 20. Nah, I think probably 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
And you were still racing.
Oh yeah.
Do you still race?
I ran a year after. I still have. One of these days, if we have no police, I'll bring a race car out in town.
Oh, man, did you race? Is that down here in Lehighton there?
No, my son ran down there in Lehighton.
Okay.
That's up in Minersville, Big Diamond. That's
All right.
a dirt track.
So yeah, this was gonna say all dirt tracks
Yeah,
and stuff.
that's
like
dirt
that.
track that my son ran on asphalt.
Oh,
I was a points champion in '88. My son was '05 at Mahoney in a late model.
nice. And so, how many years did you race for?
I raced a long time, since 1982.
Is it awesome? Like, is it super intense? It's like a blast. Like, it's got
When you have a hard week and you go Friday night to race, it's.
That's
But the only thing is, once you get your first win, it's addictive.
right.
It's like a drug.
Oh, I'm sure.
And speed costs money.
I was just about to say this probably costs a lot of money for your car, your body.
It wasn't bad. It got out of hand towards the end there, the cost of stuff. But we used to run, we would almost break even.
Really?
One, we were going to the races anyway, so the gas and the entrance fee, you were going to do it anyway. It was close. If you didn't smash a lot of stuff, it was pretty good.
What's like an entry fee usually?
Oh, it was only just like $45 for us. That's it for me.
And how many people usually race?
Oh, well,
Like
we used
10 or
to
12?
we used to have a full field. We used to have 24 to 30 cars.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a mile track then?
No. Big Diamond was not quite a half on the outside, and Mahoney's a quarter mile.
Okay. So what's a half mile take you in how many seconds to get around that track?
I don't know what the seconds are, but we probably ran about 75, 80 mile an hour.
Oh, wow.
It was fun. It was fun.
Right. So it's not like it's an absurd like 120, but still.
No,
on a dirt track.
If you would, and that's average in it, you might hit maybe 80 on a straightaway.
Right, get around
the corners taking time.
Right. Slow it down. I guess
It was
you're
fun.
master of the drifts back in the day, right? You were drifting before.
I met a lot of good people that became friends and stuff, and it's a pretty good deal. And I got inducted into the Coal Region Hall of Fame.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, that was last year.
Nice.
That was an honor. It was an honor.
My Aunt Jackie says she has known Michael his whole life. Never met a more honest person that cares about the town than he does. Council did the right thing when they put him in. He did. He don't take poop from anyone. It's my Aunt Jackie. She's a firecracker.
She is.
Right?
Her dad and her mother and Tony Slakeover's store was next door, and good times. Good times.
Did you graduate from school with her?
What's that?
Did you two graduate together?
No, she's probably as old as my brother.
Right?
Yeah, I'm 65. She's probably 70, 71.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, she's older.
Really? That's
You know, back in the day, and she might have been involved in this. They had what they called in this town. It was called Youth Week,
Mm-hmm.
and like the kids were nominated for mayor and council people, and
Oh,
they had car washes and stuff, and you know they all went to they were the council for like a day or something. It was
Right.
it was pretty neat.
We should bring that back.
I'm writing it
I'll
down.
write that down. Put that in the notes that we'll forget about.
It was pretty
All
neat.
right.
And I was young at that time, but I remember this stuff like with the
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah, right.
It was pretty cool.
So you grew up in Coaldale your whole life then?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and at the complex where the fire company is, there was 4 little league teams, 2 minor league teams, a Babe Ruth team.
Wow.
That's what I said. It was so easy for children to be in. Yeah,
A lot of
and
kids.
we used to have knee-high football. There was 4 teams in the valley there.
Right.
They were up at the field at the end of town here.
Mm-hmm.
They practiced.
Like the Diamond Park, is that
Yeah.
where they played?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they practiced there and then played on the big field.
Right, yeah, because it's a thrill
Yeah.
to play in the stadium when you're a kid.
It was
Hear
pretty
your
cool.
name and all that stuff.
You know, as a kid, I remember when Nicolda High School, they used to practice there in that field. It was pretty neat. It was pretty neat growing up in Nicolda.
Right, that small town feel, that little piece of Americana.
Yeah.
Kind of, it's not here that we kind
You know,
of.
I would have
everybody
loved
yearns
it. I
for.
never, it was way before my time, that where the hospital is, that Rogo, and that was called Manila Grove.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's some old pictures of that. I'm sure Bob.
Well, yeah, that
Fairhouse.
road is still called that, right?
Yeah.
It comes out of the hospital
Yeah.
there. Now, they own that strip of 209 there. They saw they put a bunch of signs that do not trespass.
They bought all of that. There were homes there. We tore them down years ago.
Then the hospital owns that strip
Yeah.
of property that's on the left there where they put their signs up.
Yeah.
That'd be great if they could lease that land and we could put businesses along that strip of 209. That'd be a great income source for Coaldale without having to come into town. Right?
You know?
That'd be nice if we could just talk to them about that. Nah.
Somebody's asking if any of your kin worked for Ants and ran patent.
And Rand patented.
Ran patented.
I don't know. If they know his name, I'll find out.
Yeah.
All right. Is that it? We good? Any questions? You ready to wrap it up? You have anything to say?
Absolutely.
Let's-
Summertime.
Supper time,
Dinner.
baby. It's almost well, we almost made it an hour.
I thank you for having me. And
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
I'm the only one that's here and gotta go reapply.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You get in for 6 months or 8 months or
So
whatever.
so the heat's on me.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward. We get some new blood in there. Looking forward to working with them. I think there's some good people there.
Right. These 3 new bloods will be in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's no question, though. You know.
And like I said, things smoothed out a little bit, and we worked through all the problems that are irritating us. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. So yeah, that should rock. That's about it, right?
Yeah.
All right, we'll close it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here with Mr. Radoka to learn about him and.
Thanks for the questions.
Oh, thanks for the questions. Exactly. Thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget the Angela Theater is having their drone soccer this weekend. Space is limited. There's only a few left, so make sure you join up. Channel 1's new Channel 1 News' Easter egg hunt is coming up in April, so be on the lookout for that. And our meeting this weekend, Saturday at 10 o'clock here at the Angela Coffee Donuts. Candidates and Kim will all be here to chat with you and get some committees started. So come on down, say hello, and have a great day.